All right, let me get in on this.
Hello, everybody. Welcome this is our second edition of a live session with what I am deeming a very brave job seeker that we have waiting in the wings, ready to be called in here to do a career audit. Not only for her to get advice from G and myself, but also to be able to share some of that advice with you guys to help you conduct your own career audit. So, for those of you who do not know us, my name is Katie. I am a coach at Career Sprout, and this is the founder of Career
Yeah.
Sprout.
So if you are here and this is your first time, we want to say welcome. Welcome to people who are returning as well. But for those of you who are new, we go live, Katie and I, every single Wednesday here on LinkedIn at 10 a.m. Pacific. And usually what we'll cover are various aspects of the job search. Inside of our coaching program, we help professionals in tech land 200K to 500K jobs. And so we use these as an opportunity to showcase as much as we can to help you guys navigate this job market. And a couple of weeks ago, Katie and I said, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we started bringing actual job seekers on here and help them with various aspects of our system that we use inside of our coaching program. And part of that system involves something that we call a career audit, which we also believe coincidentally is the most important part of the job search. And so today with this brave job seeker, her name is Darla, and we're going to bring her on in 1 minute. We're going to actually help her perform a career audit. And so before we just dive into that, Katie's going to share a little bit about what a career audit is, why do we use it, how to use it, and why it actually plays such a meaningful role in your job search and allows you to navigate the job search with more ease and flow and grace. So go ahead, K-Mac, take it away, and then we'll bring on Darla in 1 second.
Awesome. Yeah. So, one of the things that we've noticed, especially in this job market, is a lot of folks start their job search because they're afraid of a layoff or they're afraid of the market or they were just laid off, something like that. And what happens is if you're starting from a place of fear or you're starting from a place of you've been doing a job that you no longer like, and then you quickly slap together a resume talking about doing all of these things that you maybe did or did not like over the years, what ends up happening is one, it's usually a very scattered resume. It's usually a very scattered job search. And you're far more likely to just get more of what you haven't necessarily liked over the last X number of years of your career. Whereas what I'm going to say we didn't create this. What Gaurav realized when he first started Career Sprout, and he hates when I brag on him, but I'm going to brag on him for a minute. When Gaurav first started Career Sprout back in 2016 officially, one of the things that he realized was looking at all of his years in recruiting and talent and all of that stuff, the people who knew what they enjoyed, why they enjoyed it, and the impact that they wanted to make, those were the people that were growing and having the most fun in their career. And so when he started Career Sprout, it wasn't, and it still isn't, just about landing a high-paying job, just about making more money. It's about making sure your career aspirations, your North Star of what it is that you're aiming for, aligns with who you are as a person. Oftentimes there is a bonus of money involved in that. Even in the little summary below this, you'll see we always start with our clients doing a career audit. There was somebody in particular a couple months ago where he almost missed out on $80,000 because he never learned how to do a career audit. Nobody taught him how to do a career audit. And he thought he needed to target $150,000 roles. But we did the audit, we showed him what he's done, what he's capable of doing, and what roles, what salaries would match that. And so he was able to target 220K roles. He landed one. He was quick. He was, I think, within 3 weeks that he landed his. So we're going to walk you through today exactly what questions we walked through with him to identify what it is. Well, I won't go too much. We're going to go in depth with it. So maybe we can bring Darla on now, introduce her to everybody, maybe even get a joke before we start officially, but then walk you guys through what this audit looks like and how you can do it on your own.
Yeah. And Can you guys all please take a second to welcome Darla and give her some love? Because again, it is very brave to go live in front of, right now we have 80 something people. Last time we had, I think 200 or 199 people, but it ended up being watched by like over 2,000 people. And I'm sure this one will too. So give her some love as we bring her on. Welcome aboard, Darla. Thank you
Hello,
so much for doing
hello.
this.
Hi. Hello, everybody. I
So,
don't want to steal K-Mac's, gig by telling a joke, but I do have a fun one. Let's see if you like it. So, why don't vampires have any friends?
Why
why?
don't vampires have any friends? Why?
Because they're a pain in the neck.
See, that was a good one.
That was a
That's a
good
bad
one.
dad joke. I like that one.
Yeah,
I
we
like
always do
that one.
dad jokes here, you guys. So if you're new here, just know we kick off each one of these with dad jokes. K-Mac, did you want to share one today?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we needed a backup, but I did have a good one because I found out that Darla is
Yeah.
a hockey fan and we're getting into playoff season here. So I said, or I didn't say, I found one. What do you call a monkey who wins the Stanley Cup?
I don't know.
I don't know.
A chimpion. Okay,
I was
we can
thinking
stick
like
with
monkey
Darla's.
in a cup. Like
Wait,
that's a
that
good
was
one.
not bad.
Okay.
That was not bad.
All right. We'll stick
All
with
right.
the vampire one. If we can maybe edit that out on the replay, that's fine.
We might have to. All right, y'all. So we're gonna get into the career audit. As Katie mentioned, it is the most important part of the job search because it allows you to get focused on what to target, why to target it, and then making sure that you're targeting the right level. So with Darla, just to give you guys some context, I'm going to share her LinkedIn profile real quick so you can see what her background is. And maybe we can even just drop her LinkedIn profile here in a second. Yeah. But here is Darla's LinkedIn profile. So that's her. She is a program management leader. And for the last 15 years or more, she's actually worked at Equinix. Am I saying that right? Equinix. Okay.
Yep. You got it.
She was a director of program management here and focusing more on revenue ops. And you can tell she's used our interview templates to write this. I know she did. And then more recently, when her company got restructured in 2024, she did this role as a contract. And so now she's back on the market. And what she's targeting are roles such as these. So this is one role she's targeting. This is another role she's targeting, a director of PMO, which makes a lot of sense based on where she is. And then she's also targeting roles like this one, head of global program management, like PMO, basically. So this is just to give you an idea of like what she's targeting. And anytime we do an audit, anytime we start with an audit, there's a couple of things we want to take a look at first. A, what have you actually done? B, what are the problems you've solved? C, how have you solved those problems? And then most importantly, what did you help your companies achieve from solving those types of problems? And then when we get an understanding of that, and we're able to get a good understanding technically of your like breadth of experience and then the depth of it, the next thing we want to do from that is make sure that we're targeting the roles that would allow you to leverage all of the breadth and depth of your experience, but also make sure that you're moving upwards in your career in a direction that aligns with where you want to go. And you guys maybe have seen this, or if you're new, you can go back on my LinkedIn profile or Katie's or our newsletter. We share case studies of our clients all the time. And a lot of times, Katie just shared the number with me yesterday. The average increase in salary that they're seeing from their last role to the one they just accepted is a little over $73,000. And when we show these case studies, people always wonder like, well, why are they able to get that? How are they able to do it? Seems crazy. And it's basically because it's actually very simple and logical. what we're doing after we gather this information from the audit is we're just targeting one level above their most recent position. And the reason we start by targeting one level up, and sometimes two, is because if you've been doing the thing you've been doing for at least 5, 7, 10 plus years, and in Darla's case, she's been doing it for over 15, what you will likely find after the audit, we're going to go through this, is you've likely moved up in your career, you've likely gained new skills, you've likely taken on new responsibilities, and most likely you've gotten really good at the thing you've been doing. And so then when you look at a job description for a position that's just one title above your most recent, you will find 8 times, 7 times, sometimes 10 times out of 10 that you already possess those skills and experiences. You just don't have the title. So now it's just a matter of showcasing those experiences in your resume and in your LinkedIn profile, and then going for that role. And most of our clients will land those roles because they already possess those experiences. And then after we write the resume and we prep for the interviews and all that, like that's how they get it. So this is kind of like the backdrop of like what we do inside of our program, and then what we're gonna now just do with Darla. And so K-Mac, I'll let you kick it off, and then we'll just kind of go through it.
Yeah. So, well, how do you want to start? And you can start off with just going through some of the problem solved.
No, go ahead.
All right. So, Darla, we're going to start with your most recent, the contract role. For those of you who are following along, looking at the ABC Supply Co. project manager role that you're working on. When we think about the role itself of what you're doing, how would you describe the problems that you're solving with this role?
Certainly. So the problems I'm solving, they're doing a back-end ERP system. They've been doing it for years, and they need to get it over the finish line. So the problems I started solving were picking up projects that were stalling and not being delivered. So I picked them up and started delivering, right? And delivering by dealing with stakeholders, making people do the work when we need them to do the work, right? Hitting the timelines, those kind of things. So it's the very weedsy project management that I hadn't done for several years. Basically the problems I'm solving there. Less strategic, more doing. Absolutely.
Less strategic, more doing. In this role, is that what you said? It broke up a little. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
And so when you're talking about being in the weeds again, this sounds like probably for the first time, I'm going to make a guess here just based on your background, first time in at least 5 years. Would that be accurate? That you've been
probably 10 actually, that I've been that
10?
weedsy. Yeah, probably 10. Yeah. The senior manager role and the director role, both, I was more strategic, less weedsy.
What have you been leveraging in this role to get yourself back into that frame of mind? To like, how are you actually solving these problems?
It's a great question, right? So I'm thinking back to the things I did as a higher leader to convince these people to get the work done and to work through the problems, right? And I think that's really important. So a lot of people who have not done that strategically still keep doing some of the old, beat up people kind of thing. And I use more of my skill of conversation and relationship building in order to get people to move things forward when I need them to. Cool. It's something you learn as you grow. It doesn't happen naturally when you're younger. You have to learn it.
Go ahead, K-Mac.
Okay. This might not have a full answer yet. So it's either going to be in terms of what your work should lead to or has already led to. How have you been able to move the needle in this role? Or how are you projecting that you will move the needle?
Certainly. So I have moved the needle by getting projects completed and delivered on time or early, basically. So there's been quite a few things I've delivered already that were stalled out.
Garber, you got to say something?
Yeah, this is literally why we freaking love the career audit, because most people, when they do it, they realize something crazy. Holy cow, I'm making a bigger impact than I'm even giving myself credit for. And when we write our LinkedIn profiles, we write our resumes, and even worse, when we go into interviews, we have a tendency, because most human beings are like humble, they don't know how to really articulate their impact,
Yep.
or they feel like they might be bragging. We,
Right.
as a result of that, undersell ourselves. Now, think of something here. This is what's crazy to me. You're coming in, and I know this is a project manager role, it's a contract, so it's fine. But look at this one line right now. You're impacting a project, you're working on a project that impacts 800 locations that they have, 800 plus,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And you just said that what you've delivered some of these projects either on time, or if not better than that, actually ahead of schedule,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
Okay. So that literally needs to be said right now, because now by delivering a project on time or ahead of schedule, you've likely saved them money. You've likely
Yep.
allowed them to generate revenue faster. You've likely allowed them to bring in new customers faster, which impacts their bottom line. And so to me, saying this is like, this is this line, and I'm not being mean, I'm just, it's like, duh, of
Yep.
course you did this stuff. So
Mhm.
the
Right. That's the
next hiring
basic.
manager, the next executive that's going to look at your LinkedIn profile, this one line here is like, okay, duh, I get it. That's what every PM does.
Right.
But what they want to know about is like, well, what did that actually lead to? Because that's what matters for me. And if you're working on something that impacts 800 plus freaking branches, and you're delivering these projects ahead of schedule, now we want to say either what's the actual impact you made, or to Katie's point, what is the attributable impact, right? So when we say
Yep.
something like this, the very next bullet should be allowing ABC Supply Co. to achieve XYZ things, right?
Okay.
You get what I'm
Yep. Love
saying?
it.
So like, people
Do.
care about two things, but the higher up you go, one thing becomes less important, the other thing becomes more important. So they care about what did you do, but then they care about what did you actually achieve,
Got it.
because
Yep.
that tells
Love
them
it.
what you can achieve for them. And so we don't want to say, oh, I coordinated and facilitated meetings between product owners and functional teams. I mean, that's not just what we want to say. That's like the obvious thing that people would do in a role
Yep.
like this. What you want to talk about is like, well, this led to me delivering projects ahead of time. And you actually said something even more important. There was no processes in place when you got there. It was just kind of on the go. So you could say, I even set up the PMO, I set up the structure, I implemented these agile meetings, whatever you actually did, which then led to XYZ. Like, because what you're doing for them has such a high impact. And like, we don't want the world to not know that.
Right. Okay. Perfect.
So
Love
I'll
it.
just stop there. Go ahead, Katie. I know I
Yeah.
interrupted, so that's my bad.
No, that's perfect. So there's one thing that I just want to add to what G just shared is also, and this is maybe my favorite. I'm stealing this from somebody, an old mentor, when he was trying to get the point across. I know that you know about your programs and your projects that you've worked on, but what
Right.
you have written right here is the equivalent of saying, hey, I watched a guy run across the field. Now, if I
Uh,
say to you, hey, I watched a guy run across the field, you could picture a lot of different things. It could be a streaker running across a soccer field for all we know. But if I say to you, hey, I was in the stadium when Usain Bolt broke the 100-meter record in 9 point whatever seconds, that's going to give you it's very unlikely that you're going to picture something other than Usain Bolt running
right.
100 meters across a track. So same thing here, like you did a good job of saying across 800 branch locations. That gives me an idea. That's the
Yep.
equivalent of like he ran 100 meters. But now if you were to put in budget size, and then if you were to add in delivered X percentage of projects, programs ahead of schedule and under budget, now as a recruiter, now as a hiring manager, I have context for what it is that you've actually done. And now what happens is I get to see that you've been able to pull all of your strategy from previous roles to come in and make an impact in less than in 7 months. Like that's incredible to be able to do that. And it also makes it relevant. So going back to like the running analogy, if I'm talking to an NFL scout and I'm talking about Usain Bolt and how fast he is and saying that would like, he ran this fast. It's like, okay, I didn't ask about a 100-meter dash. I'm looking for, linebackers who can run a 40. Like, why are you giving this to me? And so same thing, knowing who your audience is and then the context that they care about and being able to make it really easy for people to see that. And normally how we do that in this case, it's going to be, we want to make it easy for them to see that in interviews, but we also want to make it so that they can see that really quickly when they glance at this. So generally what we'll do is I know this isn't a resume section here, but some of those things that we just extracted from you by asking these questions, it's like the top can be responsibilities. Those are more general and how it applies. Then right beneath that, what are the quantifiable accomplishments? Deliver 96% of projects ahead of schedule and under budget, right? Whatever is true for you, or what is it projected to do? By doing that, it saved the company X dollars, or it increased revenue Y dollars. Those are the types of things that if we're able to, and I mean, you just knew them, those were all top of mind. Sometimes we got to like really extract them from people, but you already have that strategic brain. So you can already see how the piece of the puzzle that you were owning in that, how it impacts the business as a whole. And so now we just need to make it so that other people who are reading this can see that.
Awesome.
And this is why, for anyone listening, and especially for Darla, she did a great job of already providing us some of the job descriptions she's targeting because we asked her to. But this is now where, when you start the audit, at some point in the audit process, you're going to want to look up some of these job descriptions, look at the level that's one above. And again, you will find likely that you are already doing and performing the responsibilities that one level above is asking for. And now I want to show you real quick. I'm just going to bring up a client of ours, how he structured his LinkedIn profile. And this is literally how his resume looks too. So see this is Sean. We helped Sean get into this role. But if you look, don't worry about the title because he's making more here than he did here. But this is how he wrote all of his stuff. Now we technically wrote it for him, but whatever. See, the top is the responsibilities. This is, remember I was saying, duh, like I get it. You did probably all of this stuff. They care about that, but then they want to know, okay, well, what did that actually lead to? Right. And so it's always, and next week we're going to be doing a live resume rewrite. We're going to literally write someone, but this is largely the format we follow. What did I do? And then what did I achieve? So
you would do this on the resume, not just on LinkedIn. You would separate the two.
Both.
Because I can easily do that. Okay.
Oh, of course you can. And the reason we do it this way too is like there is a little bit of a science behind this, because think about everyone here has heard that statistic where recruiters, hiring managers, whomever, spend less than 10 seconds on a resume. You'll hear 7, 8, whatever. It's all true. And so what happens is when we go onto a resume, and I've been a recruiter before, I've led a bunch of recruiters. What happens is we'll go into the resume or the LinkedIn profile, and we'll just quickly go like this. Did they have this? Do they have that? But what happens if we want them to stop on that resume a lot longer and spend time on it for more than 10 seconds, we want to make sure that their eyeballs are literally stopping at the places we want them to stop. And by breaking it up like this and even having a little space between this and this and this, it stops their eyeballs. So they'll say, oh, wait, okay, cool. Oh, and then holy cow. Oh, so that's how they do. So we want, now how that applies to you is like, you have a few bullets. You have 4 bullets basically of what you're doing, but this is underselling yourself. So we want to talk about a few of the things you did, but then really focus on what am I actually how am I impacting them?
Right.
So I'll stop there. And then I have some thoughts, but Katie, you can go on to the next role because we want to spend time in the previous role, and then I'll talk a little bit about how we structure that because there's so much gold in that next one.
Yeah. So, well, Gaurav, if you want to share your,
Oh yeah. Sorry.
and just share so that folks can see what we're
Yeah.
looking at here, that director, project, and program section.
This is what we're gonna leverage the heck out of for Darla.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. This is where all the action was.
Yes.
This is where all the action was. All right, so
Okay.
we'll go into the. I'm gonna just expand upon this.
Yeah, and if you could really zoom in on that most recent, the July to April of 2024. Yeah, perfect.
This one, yeah.
Yeah. Now this is going to look different for you as soon as you go back and make some of those tweaks. So it's responsibilities, the more general things,
Right.
and then a separate section for like, hey, here's how I actually moved the needle. And you already have like the meat and potatoes here. Like we're just now separating them like a little kid that doesn't want them touching on the plate so that it's easier for people to see it. My analogies are spot on today. But what I want to dive into here, you actually gave us a lot of information here on what it was that you actually did. You talk about directing PMO processes and governance frameworks. Were they in existence before you, or did you create those?
In the two jobs that I had, I created. And then there were two roles where they existed. So in this role, I created for two of the jobs.
So
can I stop real quick? Sorry. Yes. See, this is what my mind goes in a million. All right. When we write our LinkedIn profiles, y'all, and then especially when we go into interviews, think of this structure. Before I got there, when I got there, after I did the thing. That is how we show them like the full breadth and depth of your experience. Before I got there, there was X, or there was not even X. During that time, I built out X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3. And because of that, boom, 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 boom was achieved. So now they can see, like, think of this. Remember, hiring managers care about what problems you're going to solve for them. And like the reason that job is open is because they're dealing with problems internally or bottlenecks or inefficiencies or whatever. So if they can see clearly and concisely, she was able to take nothing, build something, and as a result of that something, she was able to achieve or help the company achieve blah, 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 blah. Okay. That tells them what you would do for them. So go ahead, K-Mac, but that's why like she's asking that question.
Yeah. And this is where it's so cool, because is that first bullet point, is that a bad bullet point? No, it's a phenomenal bullet point if you didn't create it from scratch. The fact that you created it from scratch means that you are literally just sharing the tip of the iceberg of your abilities here. And you might even say something lower down. Actually, I think you do. Established portfolio governance frameworks. That's like 7, 8 bullet points down, hidden in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like the odds of them seeing that or knowing that you're capable of coming in to an organization that doesn't have any of this in place, they would have to talk to you to know that. And your odds of getting them to talk to you dramatically reduced.
Okay.
So, okay, let's go. So one, I hope you are, before we even keep going through this, I hope you are so proud of yourself. And for people who are listening, like this happens with every job seeker where it's like, you don't realize how kick butt you are, but like, Darla, you and your experience, I hope you are extremely proud of all of the work that you've put in over the last, not even like couple months and weeks and whatever. It's like, you have years of putting in the work and committing to excellence. And like, this is one of the most important pieces of the career audit, is making sure that you're actually taking a minute to be proud of yourself and recognize some of these things. Like, it's a big deal to have done.
And it's hard. So there are days where I do and days where I don't, right? Because when you're restructured, even though it's a business decision, it can hit hard, right? So there are days where I'm like, yeah, I did all this great stuff. And there are other days that are like, can I do it? Right. So it's good to keep reminding ourselves and being resilient, but some days are better than others. How's that for an answer?
Yeah.
So, and a recruiter recently told me that. They said, look, you were at every job the right amount of time, and every job is up instead of lateral. And so I keep trying to remind myself of those facts, right? That I was doing the right steps. But
Yeah.
yes, thank you. I appreciate that, because some
You
days that's
know,
hard to remember. And I think everyone should take that moment.
this is so something Katie actually has our clients do very often throughout the job search is she'll like, I think she calls it, or maybe I did just call it, it's called taking a stroll down memory lane, but doing it often. Because when we go through the job search, it is very easy to want to like give up, especially if it's in a very tough market, or not just give up, but like, dude, I don't know if I can get this VP role. It seems crazy. A lot of people are applying. And then it's like, well, stop. Most of those people who are applying are not probably qualified. Take a look at what you've actually achieved for the last like 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, and you will realize and you'll remind yourself like, wait, I've done way more than I'm even giving myself, you know? And when you do that, what happens is your brain the neurons connect, because if you're connecting it with the job description and you see you've done thing, now it's like you're not going off of hope and a prayer, you're going off of data, right? And so like this background, I would not be surprised, and I know we weren't going to talk, I would not be surprised if you could step into a 350K role total comp with a background like this, because think of the things you've been able to help them achieve. And I'll tell you one more thing, and this is something for product leaders, program leaders, anyone. Okay, if you think of what VPs, SVPs, C-suite members do. They work horizontally across an organization, right? They're not the ones who are the best coder, the best designer, the best person who runs a scrum. No, they know how to like set the strategic initiatives for the company, and then either them directly or through their teams, they know how to execute against those, right? Well, a director of PMO at your level, what you've done, you are working horizontally. You understand what each sort of vertical within the business needs to do. You understand why they need to do it. And then most importantly, you know how to help them get it done. That skill set, it's a meta skill set. It is so valuable to organizations, which is why we want to make sure we're talking about the things you did in a way that really gets it to gets them to stop and see it. So when we looked at Sean's LinkedIn profile and yours, I'm going to say a couple of things here. We want to make sure, again, and we can share the LinkedIn template for our resumes in a few minutes, but start with the responsibilities. What did I do? But make sure that some of these things that Katie just talked about, you're bearing them like you could easily, someone could easily ignore this on accident, right? Oh, it's too far down. So we want to make sure that they see, again, the breadth and depth of your experience and what you did. And so now, this is for anyone who's worked at a company as long as Darla has or around the same time. What we don't want to do is give them information that is no longer relevant to them. So all of this stuff Darla did earlier on, it's part of her journey. It's part of her story. And when she goes into an interview, she should talk about this, because how badass is it that I started here and I freaking ended up here, right? That's important in an interview, Darla. But on your LinkedIn profile / your resume, this is no longer relevant to them. This is valuable real estate that that just doesn't need to be talked about. And what happens, and this is where most people go wrong, is a recruiter or a hiring manager, when the second they open this LinkedIn profile and they see all this stuff, what it causes is readers fatigue. And now they're seeing all of this stuff that's no longer relevant to them. It's relevant to your story, but it's not relevant to them. And they might miss some of the cool stuff that you have up here that Katie was talking about. So we don't need to go, we can simply have a bullet. And this is what we do for a lot of our clients. We'll literally include a bullet that just says promoted several times from client services manager to blah, 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 blah. But that's all they need to know. So, and when they interview you, you can say, yeah, they tell me about yourself. I started off my career as a client services manager. I learned so many phenomenal things that helped me then step into this role. And most recently, which is the most important part, irrelevant, I did blah, 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 blah. So anyway, we'll share that.
Perfect. So that's how you show the 15-year experience, but you just keep it simple and small.
Yeah.
which I think is hugely important because I wanted to show that I had the 15 years experience still on the resume,
Correct.
but it's not as relevant. 100% agree. So I like that. Okay.
Yeah. And Gorb, I don't even know if he saw the second. Again, this is one of those kind of buried in there. You weren't even just going horizontally across a business. You were promoted to oversee the integration of acquired companies too.
Correct. That is correct.
Like, and so this is where it's so, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to miss
Right.
right now. And
Mhm.
just being able to now, like, if the amount of business acumen that you need to have to be able to do that, ranging from 4 million to 20 million.
Yeah. From
Where do
due
you see that?
diligence to
Bullet
integration.
point number 2 in the top section.
Oh, Jesus.
Up a couple, yeah. And so I worked on due diligence all the way to integration and go live, right? So it's a
Yeah.
huge breadth of information in one bullet.
Wow,
Like,
wow,
how do you
wow.
make that cleaner? How do you make that more?
So part of it is separating out
Okay.
responsibilities. This is, what I did. And then impact, key accomplishments.
Yep.
By
And
separating
do you
those
try to
two
have,
things.
sorry, do you try to have like a responsibility bullet 1 and then an impact bullet 1 kind of match?
Good question. It doesn't have to be that way. Generally,
Okay.
what we'll do is it'll be,
Yeah, I'll go back to this one.
Yeah.
it'll be just general responsibilities. This is what the way you can think about it is the top part is what you get off job descriptions
Right.
with a little bit of the numbers so that it's not picturing a streaker running across the field. You're picturing Usain Bolt running 100 meters. So it would be like your first bullet point could be manage a $75 million IT portfolio, right? That shows some of the breadth. What's the size of the org that you were overseeing or things like that to show them the
Yep.
general responsibilities. And then the impact that you had goes beneath
Okay.
it. And that's where you can put on your business owner hat or your business acumen hat and say,
Right.
like, why would this be relevant to a CEO?
Yeah. And that goes in the impact.
That would go in the impact with the
Just like this.
quantifiable.
It doesn't always have to be a one-to-one, like, oh, I did this, so then this, right?
Yeah.
Like, see this lead direct 15 direct reports? That's his second bullet. His third
Yeah.
bullet is helped 7 of those get promoted, which then tells the
Perfect.
reader, holy cow, he must be a great leader himself, right? The
Yep.
person reading the thing. But it doesn't have to be a one-to-one. And just so, and like the cool thing is, so like, let me show this. You are going, I'll just bring up this one. This is one of the roles you're going for, right?
Yep.
So if you end up studying 15 of these job descriptions, you will find, Darla, and they always do, that majority of these bullets just keep looking the same from one job description to the next, to the next, to the next.
100%.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And so you'll
absolutely.
see,
Absolutely.
right? So you'll see usually the same 5 to 7 bullets. So those bullets that Sean had on his LinkedIn profile under responsibilities, how did he come up with those? It's because he just looked at a bunch of job descriptions and he noticed the pattern. They're all showing the same things. That must mean that's important to them. So let me talk about those things if I did it. And
Okay.
then he'll go into like, okay, here's what I actually helped them achieve. So for anyone here, when you're thinking about like, well, what should I actually put on my LinkedIn profile under responsibilities or my resume? Just study the job descriptions because that's your answers to the test. That's what's important to them. And then make it specific, like K-Mac is saying. Hey, before we keep going on, can you all just take a second to just give Darla some love? Because this freaking background that she has right here is super duper badass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Go ahead,
you.
K-Mac.
Okay. Let's go back to it. So, and this is also why we block out buffer times in our career audits, because sometimes these tangents are worth going on.
Right.
So, all right, we got through how you'll want to segment some of these things out. One of the other things that really stood out to me was you have some really good quantifiable accomplishments in here already. So beyond just talking about, okay, what did we do? How did you do it? You've got a lot of that already in here. One thing, just because I know we're running up on time, that I want to make sure that we spend some time talking about today. And actually, before we even go into that third thing, we go in depth normally. How we kind of went line by line and asked, okay, what did you do? How'd you do it? What was the quantifiable impact? Those are all really important to do for each of your last roles in like the 10 to 15 years. The other thing that we care about, and hopefully you care about, is what did I actually enjoy doing during that time?
Mm-hmm.
Because and we've worked with people, not that I'm allowed to have favorites, but one of my all-time favorite clients that's ever come through the program, she didn't come to us. She was already C-suite. She didn't want to be C-suite in a bigger company. She actually wanted to take a step back because in order for her to be the best version of herself as a human being, it required her doing a job that didn't require as much time and attention so that she could be the wife and mom she wanted to be. Now she took that job and then she ended up loving it in the company. I think she already got promoted at least once in that company, but it's not always about more money. It's not always about higher title. It's about matching it to who Darla as a human being is and making sure that your career is supporting that. It's not always the next title. Could you go to the next title? Yep. I think that's become very clear very quickly, just in this conversation, that you could go a title up if you want to. And that's one of the most important pieces to look at. There's a lot of different variables that go into it. And when you're studying these job descriptions, when you're looking at what they're asking for, and as G mentioned, you're going to see the same things repeated over and over again, the things that you've done over and over again. You aren't limited to staying at this level. You aren't required to go to the next level. It's about mapping it to what your goals are for the short term and the long term too.
Yeah, just because we can do something doesn't mean we need to if it doesn't serve us any longer, right?
Yeah, agree. 100%. Yep.
I'm going to put this in the comments for you, Darla, specifically, but anyone else here. So this is one of the things we're going to share. This is how do you write the perfect resume and LinkedIn profile. And if you guys are like me and you do better with a video tutorial, K-Mac put a video tutorial in here. She wrote this. It's beautiful. And it kind of walks you through the steps we're talking about, right? Like now that we've done the audit, now we can get clear on the role that we want. Now we study the job descriptions and then we use the resume and then we make our LinkedIn profile look like the resume. Again, there's a video for that. And if you want, you could click on this button down here that says other resume examples. And what it will take you to is our pre-written resume templates that we already have written. These, like, you don't have to start this for anyone here, but you too, Darla, you don't have to start this from scratch. Just go down to Program Manager, which is right here. And then we already have the actual format that converts really well. K-Mac writes these. She's done a wonderful job. And this, you'll see that guy, Sean, anyone, they'll always look the same. Mm-hmm. What did I do? What did I achieve? Summary, etc. So I'll put that in the link for you guys so you can refer back to it.
Perfect. That's great.
Yeah. And then just to answer Kieran's question about what about the things that are beyond 10 years ago, 15 years ago that aren't relevant, you can either leave them off altogether if they're really not relevant, or you can put an other experience section. You'll see that in some of the examples that we have here, where they just will literally use an other section. And I'll actually share my screen and just show you one.
Because that's one of my questions. Everyone said just use 15 years. So I did take off older jobs that were older than that, right? Mm-hmm. So how do I just show the last 15 years? So I would love that answer.
So when you are, let me share my screen. This was her stuff, it wasn't even more than 15 years ago. It was actually just not as relevant to the role she was targeting. And so she did was put other experience, company name, and then the title of what she had here.
Perfect. Yeah.
That's all you have to
that's
do.
great.
And so especially if you've got 20, 25 plus years of experience, don't even put your years of experience. Like, don't put the years. You can just literally have it exactly like this. Now I tried to scrub like company names and all of that stuff from it to keep these people from getting bombarded. But
remember, y'all, like the LinkedIn profile on your resume is not the place where you need to talk about everything you've ever done. It's just a place to talk about what is relevant to the reader based on the role you're targeting.
Yeah. And if you guys have added questions about this, we're going to do, G mentioned, next week's is going to be a whole video or whole call just on resume. We're going to walk somebody through like live a resume review and then rewrite it live with you guys to show you how to do it. I just shared G just shared the link about a second ago, and I'll drop the link here too for you guys to have it. The resume review and rewrite session. It's going to be same time next week. And if you go to that link, it'll bring you there. Or Garb, if you want to share your screen and show people how to get to the events, you can do that too.
Yeah.
All of the replays, in case you can't make it live, just as long as you register for it, you should get notified when we go live. And then in addition to that, you should get notified when we're done so you can catch the replay too.
Yeah. So the link that KMAC just dropped will essentially take you to this link where you go to events, and it'll be this one. So you guys can register now for it, so you get notified when we go live. And this one, and actually all of them, if you just go to my LinkedIn profile, click on events, and then see show all events, you can see every single live we've ever done dating back to like when we used to get 3 viewers on here, which was Katie, myself, and Katie's mom.
She doesn't have LinkedIn, so it was some other fan. Mama Mac should have LinkedIn. Good old Mary Mac.
Anyway, hopefully you guys get to see. Darla and anyone else on here, was this helpful?
And do you have questions?
Very much. It's very helpful. I definitely the whole exploring what you love, because part of what I really want to do, I don't necessarily have all the certificates that some companies want for me. So how do I go after a role like that? That's something I would love to learn more about, right? So one of them is process improvement. That's one of my favorite things to do. And I don't have a black belt, but I have a green belt. So how do I showcase that better to get some of those roles? That would be great.
Yes. Can you think of a process that you've improved over your years that has had an impact on a business?
I have 2 big ones that I did. One of them was a big security process. We did a customer journey mapping to improve the security to get into our data centers, because it would take our customers 30 minutes. And frequently when they were going, they needed in quickly because something was down, right? So we reduced it by 30%. And it was my favorite process. And I helped, I ran the whole thing from the customer journey mapping to the process improvement to the delivery of the first 3 phases of the project before we rolled it into the operations team. So that's one of my favorites.
So if you were in charge of hiring for somebody and you had 2 candidates, one had a black belt. I was going to try to think of something funny to add to the black belt.
Don't do that. Just
one had a black belt and the other one had the experience that you just shared.
Right.
Who are you picking?
I would pick me, as long as I got through to the interview, right? So that's my key. How do I get to the interview? How do I
make
showcase
it really easy for them to see that impact that you just made?
Impact. Perfect. So I can focus my impacts towards that as well, because that's, they tell you to update your resume for all the different jobs, which is fine. But then you can't update LinkedIn for all of them, because if you're applying for 10 jobs, you can't do 10 LinkedIns, right? So it would be great to just be able to at least showcase that the way you're talking about, so it's always there, right?
Yes, spot on. And the goal at the end of this audit, and this is arguably the most important thing, is when you go through all of your experience, and the last step that we mentioned is studying some of these job descriptions to ask, like, is this what I really enjoy doing? Is this what I want to do? What you'll find is there ends up being just one title or one job. Sometimes they
Yep.
use slightly. Maybe it's a VP somewhere, it's a head of at another company, depending on the size. You're looking at one job and you're applying to one job that has so much overlap, and you only need one resume from this point forward. You only get to be
Okay.
one person on LinkedIn. You only get one resume. And then when you build relationships with people, that'll be, not to ruin our
Right.
schedule of LinkedIn Lives coming up in 2 weeks, when you build
Fabulous.
relationships with the folks who work at those companies, that's what we're seeing work best for folks. The tailoring your resume, having 1,000 different resumes, going after 10 different jobs, it's not working with people.
Okay. And I've been doing great with my own network and getting help, but it's the finding the people inside the companies that I'm struggling. I'm trying, but I'm struggling, and I keep reading that. So I can't wait for that. That's in 2 weeks.
That's in 2 weeks.
I'll be there.
Yeah. And
Awesome.
here's the link, y'all, just in case you want to register for next week, where we're actually going to write someone's resume with them for them.
So I think it's going to be in 2 weeks. We might have to reevaluate that schedule. Stay tuned for LinkedIn Live schedule.
Hold on. You guys, you want to know why it might not be in 2 weeks? You guys want to know why?
Oh, I bet I know. Tell them.
K-Mac is getting married in 2 weeks, y'all.
Okay.
Congratulations.
We are out of time. We're very excited.
Out of time. We can save some time. We can save some time for everyone to congratulate you. Anyway, all right. Anything else?
Congratulations, and thank you so much.
Yeah. Darla, any other questions or any thoughts that you have?
No, I mean, you just gave me the most important one of how to help showcase, and then I will definitely start looking for these roles that I'm more specific on. So I appreciate it. I'm ready to rearrange the resume and watch the videos. So
awesome. Well, we're excited.
Thank you guys. This was great. I love it.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Darla, thank you so much for doing this too. And I'm telling you, your background is so badass. Like, please don't discount it. Make sure the world sees everything you've ever done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do.
Kieran wants
wedding joke. There you go.
All right, y'all. Thank you again, Darla. Thank you for all of you who joined, and we'll see you guys next week.